Hey Tigers! Welcome to another special edition of Miss Nick's Math Lab. I hope you're enjoying your day off of school, but thank you for tuning in to continue growing your math skills even though we have a day off. So we're going to jump right in. As I mentioned in class, we're moving on to a new topic, and that is multiplicative comparisons. I know we were struggling with the vocab of it, and we'll keep practicing that term, but what that means is we can use multiplication to compare groups of equal sizes, meaning if I have three groups, all of the same size, let's say they're all size of 2 people. So 3 groups, each one has 2 people in it. I can multiply to find my answer if they ask me how many people do I have in all. So today we're going to learn a little bit about the basics of multiplicative comparisons. See, even I have trouble with it sometimes. And then we're going to dive in a little bit deeper in class tomorrow. So please take out a pencil and paper. I encourage you to take notes as I go. This can be an I do, you do, just like we do in class. And at the end, I'm going to give you a special exit ticket. And if you bring it into class tomorrow and show it to me before we start our lesson, you'll get a token for our treasure box. So let's jump right in. Multiplication as a comparison. Before we can start talking about how we can turn our multiplication words into numbers and equations, we need to know a little bit of vocab that's going to help us out. So our vocab this unit will be multiplier. The multiplier is the number of times you are multiplying a group. So this is the number of times you are multiplying a group. I hope you are writing this down. Now I'm going to jump down here because when we talk about a group, those are our equal groups we use for multiplication. But when we're talking in an equation, we sometimes refer to that as a set size. The set size is the size within the equal groups we're working with. So the set size is the number size of the groups. So the number size of the groups. We're going to talk about an example of that in a second. But lastly, our third piece of an equation, of any multiplication equation, is the product. The product, we should already know this, but the product is our answer to a multiplication equation. So those are some of our key terms when we're talking about an equation for multiplication. Now, what exactly does that look like? Well, let me show you an example. If I come down here and I do just a basic one, let's do 2 times 4 equals 8. And I tell you there are 2 groups of 4, okay? 2 groups of 4. Well, that means that my multiplier is 2, because I have 2 groups of 4. 4 is the size of my group, and 8 is my product. Now, if I'm drawing that out in pictures, that's going to look like 2 groups of 4. So I have 1 group of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 groups of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. Now, the last thing we have to talk about before we can jump into turning our equations into words and our words into equations is some of our multiplicative comparison words. Now, these are the words that are going to give us a little hint. Those are the little light bulbs that are going to go off in our head that tell us, ooh, I am comparing numbers. I can use my multiplication to do this. Those words are, and you're going to see a trend. I want you to notice if you see a pattern here. Times greater, times as many, times bigger, that's another one. See if you can think of one. Times bigger. We also have times longer. Maybe they're talking about length or distance. Times longer. And sometimes they'll say times as big or times more. So we're going to write down times more since we already have times bigger. Now I wonder if you noticed the trend here, or the pattern. There's a key word, times, that is included in all of these. We're talking about multiplication. If you see that word times, that's your light bulb that should go off to tell me I need to be using my multiplication skills to solve this. So take a minute, I want you to look over this vocab, and we're going to move on to turning that vocab into equations. So on a new piece of paper, let's copy this down. If you need a little time, you can go ahead and take it. The beauty of our videos is you can pause it and copy this down at your own speed. Now, when we are using our multiplicative comparison words to turn our sentences into equations, it's going to look a little bit like these three examples. So watch how I turn our examples into our equations. Our first example is 35 is 5 times as many as 7. So when we're doing multiplicative comparisons, our rules are a little bit different than our cube strategies we've used to mark up our word problems so far. So when we're doing these, what I want you to first do is underline your comparison statement, the statement that is asking you to compare two numbers. And those are those multiplicative comparison words we talked about before. So in this sentence, I want you to see if you can figure out which phrase is comparing. Hopefully, you identified times as many as, because that's the phrase that is asking us to compare our numbers. Now, our other pieces of our equation were our product, our multiplier, and our set size. The first one we're going to notice is always our biggest number, and that's our product. So 35 is our biggest number. That means that's going to be my product. And I'm going to write that down first, since I see it first, and it's my biggest number, and therefore my product, 35. The next word I'm going to look for is the word is, or equals, because that means I need to use an equal sign. In this case, it's the word is. So I'm going to replace that word is with an equal sign. Next, I come across my multiplier. Now I have my multiplier is the number of times as many that I am using, the number of times I'm multiplying my group. In this case, it is 5. So I'm going to next write 5. 5 times as many. What symbol do you think we're going to use since we see times as many? Our multiplication symbol. 5 times as many as, and our last piece is our set size, the size of our group, or the size of our set number, and that in this case is 7. So if I'm asked to turn 35 is 5 times as many as 7 into an equation, that is going to look like 35 equals 5 times 7. Now if that doesn't make sense or is a little fuzzy, I encourage you to pause, rewind, and watch this part one more time before I explain this one, just to make sure it is solid in your brain. Now, the next example we have is 3 times as many as 9 is 27. So let's mark up our equation. The first thing we look for is our comparison statement, and we are going to underline it. In this case, our comparison statement is times as many as. The other pieces of our equation are built in around that comparison statement. So we're going to start at the beginning. 3 times as many as. So if I stop there, what I have so far is 3 times as many as. So 3, that's the number form of this word, and times as many as is shown with a symbol of our multiplication symbol. Next I see another number, 9. 3 times as many as 9. So that means 9 is my set size, and that's the next number I'm going to write down. My next piece, the word is. Remember we said the word is equal to our equal sign. So whenever I see the word is, I'm going to replace it with an equal sign. And the last piece of my puzzle is another number, but in this case it's a big one, 27. That's the biggest number I have in my equation. So that means that that's going to be my product. So I'm going to put that after my equals sign, 27. So 3 times as many as 9 is 27 is shown in an equation as 3 times 9 equals 27. Hopefully that's clicking a little bit. If not, again, go back, rewind, watch it one more time, and let's do one more example. 4 times as many as 5 is 20. So first I underline my comparison statement, times as many as, and then I look for the other pieces. 4, since that is right next to my word times, that's my multiplier. So 4 times as many as 5. Now 5 is my set size, that's my set number. 4 times 5 is, that's my key word to tell me that's my equal sign, 20. So since that's my biggest number, I know that's my product, so it needs to go on the other side of the equal sign, is 20. And there I've converted 4 times as many as 5 is 20 into my equation, 4 times 5 equals 20. Now before we wrap up, I promised you an opportunity to win tokens for watching this video. So those of you who have stayed in tune and taken notes, I applaud you. Your lesson is going to seem a lot easier on Thursday when we are back in class. And to earn your token, I want you to copy down these 2 questions, solve them on a piece of paper, and hand them to me when you come to class on Thursday.